Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Welcome to the video for chapter 9 Carbonyl examples. Okay, in this video what we're going to do is actually discussing the solution for the exercises itself. Okay, so let's look for question number 1. So for question number 1 here, it mentioned that 2-propanol react with acidified potassium manganate to form compound A. First one, write the reaction equation for the formation of compound A. Okay, so we have 2-propanol, so it means that we have 1, 2, 3 carbon, and on carbon number 2, we will have our OH only. It will react with acidified potassium manganate. Okay, potassium is K, manganate is our Mn lah. So here is actually our KMnO4. Okay, acidified, because remember for KMnO4, it needs our H plus as well our heat lah. Okay, to form compound A. So what is this? KMnO4. KMnO4 is a reagent where it is a strong oxidizing agent. Okay, so for strong oxidizing agent, it means that the reaction or our alcohol here will undergo oxidation. Where oxidation is the process where we will lose 2 hydrogen itself. Okay, so where which part of hydrogen will be removed? Okay, first from the OH itself lah. So from our OH here will become C double bond O. So here will become C double bond O lah. This part. And then from the carbon that containing OH2, it must have 1 hydrogen ni kan. Okay, we will remove the hydrogen itself juga. So again, we become C double bond O. So again, when we remove these 2 hydrogen, so what is left is actually CO lah. But then when we count, the number of carbon here baru 1, 2, 3. So that's why CO ni mesti ada double bond. Just to make sure we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bond for our carbon. Okay, so this is actually our secondary alcohol. Okay, so secondary alcohol, when it undergoes oxidation, it will form ketone. So, ketone ni because the body guard itself, this C double bond O attached to carbon dengan carbon. Okay, here is a ketone, and when we name it, it become propanol. So, it's either 2-propanol ataupun propanol saja, it's fine. Propanol. Okay. So that's for question A. So that's when it mentioned reaction equation, so we have to draw lah the reagent, lepas tu kita the reactant and the reagent dengan product. Okay, so this is actually the reaction equation. Okay, next, draw the product form when A is reacted with HCN and NH2OH. So this is our A. When the alcohol undergoes oxidation to form ketone, we will react our ketone with HCN and NH2OH. Okay, so here it mentioned, even though it mentioned about draw the product only, but what I'm going to do here is actually the equation jugalah. Okay, so HCN. So HCN ni actually reagent dia is from our sodium cyanide as well as our acid. Okay, so for the carbonyl, it will undergo nucleophilic addition. Okay, so what happened here is actually C double bond O ni, we will add 2 of our atom. Okay, first we will add our H dengan CN. Okay, so from our C double bond O ni, what will become? Double bond O ni akan jadi single bond OH. Okay, and then from satu single bond sini jadi OH. Lagi satu bond ni will form CN. Okay, so dekat sini lah. For example, here we have our carbonyl. Okay, so CN dekat sini, it will be added to this part. This CN, this CN, this CN dekat sini, this one. Okay, and from our carbonyl itself ni, dia akan jadi single bond. Tengok, dalam C double bond O, dia jadi COH. H ni from where? H ni actually from our acid lah. So, jadi sini OH. So, our CH3, CCH3 ni is still the same. The difference is that from our double bond ni, dia akan form 2 single bond. Okay, bila dia jadi 2 single bond, O ni jadi OH. Okay, and then at the same carbon, we will add CN. Okay, so again, either you want to draw CN ni in terms of this, ataupun kalau kamu nak buat CN ni, kalau kita buat the as expanded version, it is actually C triple bond N. Either way is accepted lah, whether you want to write down this one or this one. Okay, so this is what we call cyanohydrin. Cyanohydrin because on the same carbon, we have our OH as well as our cyanide, CN. Okay. Next one, let's look here. It mentioned that draw the product form when A is reacted with NH2OH. Again, sebenarnya dia nak produk saja. Tapi yang ini Miss buat sahaja equation dia penuh. Okay, so for NH2OH, this is actually our ammonia derivative. So what happened here is actually carbonyl ni will react with our ammonia, and then it will remove small molecule. Dalam kes ni akan remove H2O. Okay, so in this case, we will remove O from our carbonyl and H2. Sebenarnya dekat sini. H2 from our N itself lah. Our ammonia derivative ni. Okay, so dalam kes ni, contohnya, if you can see it clearly, okay, sebenarnya kita akan remove O kat sini dengan H2 of my H kat sini lah. Okay, so if you're very unsure macam mana, so what we're going to do here is actually, again, we want to remove H2O kan. Kalau Miss suka buat, just to make it clear for us, kalau O ni, I want to draw it on my right hand side. So we know lah kita akan remove ni, nanti senang nak nampak the combination, what is the product form. NH2OH ni, okay, remember N ni terbalik ni dia only needs 3 bond. Okay, kalau carbon kan kena ada 4 bond kan. Kalau only nitrogen dia 3 bond lah. So kita sini tengok NH2OH. So when we remove it, we remove oxygen dengan 2 of our hydrogen. Okay, so kita salin sahajalah. This is actually our carbonyl. Okay, so from here we have our double bond. Maintainkan double bond ni. But then the OO will be removed. And then we will remove 2 of our H. So kita tengok it will carbon ni directly attached to N. And on this end we have our OH. Okay, so this is actually the product form. This is the byproduct lah. Kita dah remove kan H2O. Okay, so that's for question number 1. Next, let's look for question number 2. Question number 2 here it mentioned, write down the reaction equation to show the synthesis of propanol to propanal. Okay, so from propanol, so here is our propanol lah, 1, 2, 3. And then because it does not mention here, so maknanya OH on carbon number 1. Okay, so from our alcohol propanol ni akan form propanal. Okay, so propanal, it means that we have 1, 2, 3. Now ni, it means that it is aldehyde. So it means at the end there, it must be C double bond O hydrogen. Okay, so from here, this is the expanded version lah, Miss buat. Okay, just for your information, if this one, if we write down in terms of condense, dia akan jadi CH3, CH2, CH2OH. Kalau aldehyde, if it's written down in terms of condensed version, dia akan jadi CHO. Okay, CHO ni adalah aldehyde. Kalau CH2OH, ada OH kan, CH2OH is alcohol. If you be unsure, draw the expanded version. Kalau rasa kenapa hydrogen dia tak cukup, sebab maybe it could be an aldehyde. Okay, so dia tanyalah what is the reagent daripada alcohol, primary alcohol ni to aldehyde. Okay, so for oxidation, we have learned in chapter hydroxy, chapter 8, oxidation we have strong oxidizing agent dengan weak oxidizing agent. If it's a strong oxidizing agent, primary alcohol will become COOH. Okay, so that's why even though oxidation usually we use KMNO4H plus heat, we cannot use this one lah. Sebab nanti tak form kita punya propanol, nanti jadi propanoic acid. So kalau weak oxidizing agent, the reagent is PCC and CH2Cl2. So from this case, barulah dapat aldehyde kita. So from primary alcohol to aldehyde, the reagent is PCCCH2Cl2. Okay, so here is just a bit of recap. Okay, so kita tengok kenapa oxidation, kalau strong dia jadi primary, from primary jadi carboxylic acid, kalau weak primary alcohol jadi aldehyde. Okay, so this is the differentiation is actually pada primary sahajalah. For secondary alcohol, regardless if you use KMNO4 ataupun PCC-CH2Cl2, PCC ni pyridium chlorochromate. So senangnya kita boleh tulis PCC lah. Okay, so kalau primary ni yang kita nak take note sikit. Okay, so again, okay, just a quick revision. So kenapa for the oxidizing agent, kalau weak oxidizing agent, primary alcohol akan jadi aldehyde. What happen is that we will remove one hydrogen from our OH itself and one hydrogen from the carbonyl, carbon containing OH. So contohnya dekat sini, we remove H here, remove H here. Okay, so from our COH ni akan jadi C double bond O. Okay, and then the hydrogen ni bila kita remove, kita tengok carbon ni dah cukup dah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so betul lah. This is the structure. And then, if you bit unfamiliar ni, peliknya macam ni. Usually kalau kita draw aldehyde kan, C double bond O ni yang di sini, hydrogen. So, this is our aldehyde. So, dalam case of weak oxidizing agent ni, dia punya case ni, we only remove 2 hydrogen sahaja. For strong oxidizing agent, the primary alcohol will become carboxylic acid. Okay, in this case, we still remove 2 hydrogen. We remove 2 hydrogen tu from the carbon containing OH tu lah. Okay, tapi yang lebih kat sini, we will add oxygen. We will add oxygen to the carbon itself. Okay, so what does it mean here? So, contohnya dekat sini, this is our primary alcohol kan, yang 1-propanol kita ni. So, kita dah remove 2 of our hydrogen. So, nanti dia jadi macam ni lah. Kat sini ni, this one, dia akan jadi COH. Kat sini ada our CH3, CH2. Okay, tapi dekat sini, once we remove the 2 of our hydrogen, carbon dekat sini baru ada 1-2 bond. Okay, kat sini kita akan add oxygen. So again, when we add oxygen, kita akan ada double bond O. Okay, so that is actually the oxidation reaction when we react it with strong oxidizing, the oxidation reaction when we react with strong one lah. So strong oxidizing agent, KMnO4, H plus heat. Okay, so that's why when we use weak dengan strong, we will have 2 different product. Kalau kalau secondary alcohol sama sahaja akan jadi ketone. Macam the first example kita ni, our yang 2-propanol ni akan jadi ketone regardless of the reagent. Okay, so let's look for question number 2B. Okay, so for question 2B, they ask you to write down the reaction equation from 2-butene to 2-butanol. Okay, this one is not as straightforward. There are 2 steps from our alkene to 2-butanol. Okay, so sebenarnya reaction kita daripada alkene jadi kita punya butanol. Okay, so kita ada the reaction. Kalau kita tengok, tidak dapat lah. We can't change the alkene straightforward to our ketone. Okay, so what happened here is actually from our alkene ni, kita kena jadikan dia alcohol. Alcohol ni baru boleh jadi ketone. Oxidation. Okay, so oxidation sebab pada sini, from ketone ni, we have to know this must be our secondary alcohol. Okay, so macam mana daripada alkene nak jadi alkohol? Yang ini revise balik chapter 5 kita lah. Okay, so chapter 5 kita, okay, we have learned, okay, from alkene to alcohol, our reagent is H2O, H+. Ataupun H2O, H2O+. Dia tak boleh jadi H2O+ terus lah. Maknanya we need to have water dengan our acid solution lah. H+ boleh, H2O+ boleh, H2SO4 boleh. Okay. So, from here, what we're going to add is actually we're going to add H dengan OH. Okay, so for this reaction, for the electrophilic addition here, we will follow Markov-Nikov's rule. Okay, where we add H dengan OH. Ingatlah yang ni. H love H. H love H. Okay, kalau H will be added to the carbon with more H, OH will be added to the carbon with less H. Kat sini, kita tengoklah pada carbon-carbon double bond kita. So here we have on this carbon, we have 1 hydrogen. Okay, this carbon pun we have 1 hydrogen juga. So sama sahaja. So when the alkene itself have the same number of hydrogen, yang ini tak adalah perlu kita take into consideration sebab it's the same. Okay, tapi sebab dekat sini Miza buat OH di sini kan. Sorry, my ketone ni C double bond O on my right hand side. Sebab itulah here I put down my hydrogen here dengan OH kat sini. Okay, carbon number 3 here. So I will get my alcohol, and this alcohol is a secondary alcohol. Okay, so when secondary alcohol undergoes oxidation, what will happen is actually we will remove our hydrogen, 2 of our hydrogen. So dekat mana hydrogen that will be removed? Hydrogen sini dengan hydrogen sini kita akan remove. And then kat sini bila CO ni dia akan jadi sebenarnya C double bond O. Okay, so this is the reaction. Again, untuk organik ni dia kadang-kadang dia suka campur-campur sikit. Tapi mostly kita nampaklah yang benda yang familiar sikit lah. Okay, so that's for question number 2. Okay, next kita tengok question number 3. So, question number 3, here it mentioned that compound B, C4H10O, give positive result when reacted with iodine in alkaline solution. So, iodine in alkaline solution is Iod2NaO, which is our iodoform test lah. Okay, so what is the function atau the purpose of iodoform test here is actually to determine whether on our COH ni ada CH3 ke tidak. That's for the case of alcohol. Or for the case of carbonyl, it must have C double bond O, and on C double bond O must have CH3. Okay, so which one yang kita akan guna? So if anything, kita try dululah whether it's alcohol atau carbonyl. Okay, so dia kata dekat sini C4H10O. So kat sini mesti dah ada 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when I first I have drawn the 4 carbon, make sure each carbon ada 4 bond. So sini C4, H dia betul tak 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. H10 dengan O. Okay, so this is actually the first possibility. Okay, so kita check lah terus, dapat tak? Does it give positive result tak kalau iodine dengan alkaline solution? Okay, this case, carbon ni kita nak tengok this carbon lah. Okay, this carbon does contain OH ada. Contain H pun ada. But does it contain CH3? Kat sini ada H dengan CH3, CH2, CH2 saja kan? So tak adalah. So this is not the answer. Okay, so lepas tu kita cuba lagi. Still lagi butanol. But then in this case we have 2 butanol. The difference is actually from carbon number 1. Ini sebagai carbon number 2 lah. Okay, so again, carbon number 2. So when we count, we have 4 carbon and still we have 10 hydrogen. Okay, so right now check dengan iodoform test. Okay, so we're talking about this carbon. Okay, this carbon contain OH. It does contain OH. Does it contain hydrogen? Ada hydrogen dekat sini. Okay, does it contain CH3? Ada CH3 dekat sini. So this is actually for the B, so the compound B is 2 butanol. Okay. So the tricky part dia dekat situ je lah, kat sini. Okay, tapi yang mostly adalah soalan yang kita familiar. Next is dia kata the oxidation of B yields C. And when C is reacted with hydrazine, compound D is formed. Okay, so kita tengok daripada sini. So A kita ni is actually our 2 butanol. Okay, so here is actually our secondary alcohol. Okay, so secondary alcohol, dia undergo oxidation. It could be, what will happen is that oxidation will leave 2 hydrogen. From COH ni akan jadi double bond O. Hydrogen that attached to carbonyl tu pun akan being removed. Okay, so what happens sebenarnya, we will remove kita punya, we will remove our H here dan H here. Again, COH ni akan jadi C double bond O. Okay, so this is the product itself. Okay, so this is the oxidation. So we will form from our butanol ni, jadilah kita punya ketone. Kalau kita namakan dia, dia jadi 1, 2, 3, 4. We become 2 butanol. Okay, and then the question did ask you to draw the compound C dah. Okay, compound D pula. Okay, we react with hydrazine. Again, in this case, what happens is that when C is reacted with hydrazine, this is ammonia derivative, we will remove H2O. Okay, so if you be unsure, tak nampak macam mana dapat macam ni. Again, from our 2 butanol ni, I have rearranged it to get C double bond O ni kat tepi macam ni. CH3 ni macam ni. And this is one is CH3, CH2. Okay, we react with hydrazine. Okay, hydrazine ni we want to remove our 2 of our hydrogen kan. So that's why I put it on my left hand side. Okay, so when I remove this one, oxygen and 2 of my hydrogen. So this is the product form. Okay, tapi contohnya kalau kamu nampak, if you can see clearly what is the product form, nak terus buat macam ni pun no problem. This one is actually hint lah, ataupun tips macam mana nak jawab if the carbonyl undergoes condensation reaction with ammonia derivative. Okay, so maknanya kat sini, kalau kita tengok kat sini kan, O ni is being remove, remove dengan hydrogen dekat sini. So terus N ni ada di sini, and we have NH kat sini, NH2. So that is the product form. So the question asks you, draw the compound B, C and D. Tapi kat sini I've written down the equation as well lah. Terus straight macam ni supaya nampak sikit. Okay, so let's look next question. Okay, so dia kata give a suitable reagent for the formation of compound B, which is the oxidation of B, C ni lah, the oxidation of our alcohol here. Okay, so again, since this is a secondary alcohol, this is our secondary alcohol, and this is our ketone. So for the oxidation, tak kisah. This is the possibility lah. You could use the weak oxidizing agent as well as the strong one. Okay, so that's for question B. Okay, next question. Okay, they ask you to write the reaction equation and observation for compound B when it's reacted with iodoform test. Okay, so let's look for the equation itself. Okay, so for the iodoform test, again, it is used to detect the presence of CH3 on our carbonyl lah. Okay, so tapi dalam kes ni, kita kena ada, what would happen is that our C, mesti ada COH, CH3, hydrogen. Okay, so what happened here? Okay, from COH ni, dia akan jadi C double bond O. So, COH ni dia akan jadi C double bond O. CH3 ni akan jadi O minus. So, CH3 ni akan jadi O minus. Okay, tapi kita tengok dekat sini, sebenarnya jangan lupa we need to remove, tengok dekat sini carbon ni kan ada 1, 2, 3, 4. Tapi kat sini ada H ni, ada lagi satu. So, kita kena remove lah. You have to remove this one. Okay, so sebenarnya from our from our carbonyl ni, produk dia akan jadi this one lah. CH3 pula. CH3 akan jadi double bond O. CH3 will become O minus. OH akan jadi double bond O. Hydrogen ni will be removed. This hydrogen will not take place lah. Tidak ada lagi. But then again, remember the iodoform test, we need our CH3I, which is this is the yellow precipitate lah. So that's why we have to show the downward arrow. And write down the observation where the reaction is yellow precipitate form. Okay. So that is for question number 3. Okay, next let's look for question number 4. Okay, so question number 4 here. Okay, so dia bagi reaction scheme. So let's do it together. Okay, so for the reaction scheme here, so it mentioned that draw the structure of I dengan M. So this is I, this is M. And then suggest reagent J, K here and L. Okay, so kita start daripada E lah. Okay, so E here is actually our alcohol. So our E ni is our alcohol and it's actually a primary alcohol kita lah. Okay, so first reaction here is with Br3, PBr3. So when our alcohol react with PBr3, they undergo nucleophilic substitution where we will substitute the bromine. Selalunya kan daripada sini yang kita buat dekat alkohol H2O ataupun NaOH kan. Okay, yang ni yang terbalik pula. Dia boleh jadi PBr3, dia boleh jadi HBr, dia boleh jadi apa lagi? PBr5 pun ada. Okay. So, here what will happen is that we will substitute OH with our bromine. So, this is our product. Okay, next. Dekat sini, kita tengok yang F pula. So, from our alcohol, okay, so bila kita tengok sini, this is the product. So, apa yang beza? Actually, from here, berbeza dia dekat sini. Kat sini sepatutnya ada H kan? Sini dah tak ada. Sepatutnya sini ada OH kan? Sini dah tak ada juga. So what happened here is that we have removed H and OH. This is what we call elimination process lah. Kita eliminate atom kita. So elimination ni, this is actually dehydration of alcohol. So dehydration of alcohol, we will form alkene. Okay, and when we form alkene, so this is actually our reagent. Ini balik pada chapter 5 kita. Where we also have learned it briefly during our chapter 7 haloalkene. Dia banyak ulang-ulang juga. Okay, so this is actually the reagent J. Okay, next, from this alcohol, it will form this product, where this one is actually our aldehyde. So, from primary alcohol to aldehyde, this is an oxidation process. Okay, so oxidation process ni, again, remember we remove, so what is the difference is that we remove 2 of our hydrogen. Kita tengok dekat sini, hydrogen sini, sini tak ada hydrogen. Hydrogen sini dah buang. So, dah tak ada lah. So, this is oxidation process. However, for this oxidation, it must be PCC-CH2Cl2. Sebab primary alcohol to aldehyde must be weak oxidizing agent. Macam dekat sini, kita tengok balik. Oops, ni. Kalau primary alcohol to aldehyde, must be weak oxidizing agent. PCC-CH2Cl2. So, kita go back balik to that question. Okay, so this is reagent K, PCC-CH2Cl2. Okay, next kita tengok apa lagi dia nak. Okay, so from our aldehyde, okay, first kita tengok yang L ni lah. Okay, so dia undergoes what reaction? So, pada aldehyde ni kita tengok what is the difference. Okay, tadi from here to here, kita dah remove 2 hydrogen. From here to here, actually kita tambah balik 2 hydrogen tu. O kat sini jadi OH. Dekat carbon kat sini pun ada hydrogen 1. So, we plus 2 hydrogen. This is actually a reduction process. Reduction, where we add of 2 of our hydrogen. So, reagent yang kita boleh guna, lithium aluminium hydride, and we need acid lah, H3O+. Okay, kalau nak guna Nabiha pun boleh, tapi Nabiha tu kena ada metanol lah, CH3OH. Okay. So, this is our reagent. Okay, so kita tambah. Previously, we also, usually kita tengok from alcohol to aldehyde kan. Yang ni kali ni macam aldehyde nak pergi alcohol balik. Apa jadi? So, yang ni lah alcohol jadi aldehyde. Aldehyde jadi alcohol. This is the reagent. Okay, and last but not least, for the reaction scheme ni, pada aldehyde ni, okay, dia react dengan KMnO4H plus heat. So, this is oxidation. Okay, so for the oxidation of aldehyde ni, okay, what happen here is actually, oxidation dekat sini, usually, oxidation kita tengok remove hydrogen kan. Dalam case of oxidation of aldehyde, what we're going to look at is actually, we're going to add, dekat sini kita akan tulis, add oxygen to our hydrogen itself. Okay, but which hydrogen yang kita kena tambah? Dekat awal aldehyde ni lah. So, C double bond O ni maintainkan sahaja. Kan? Sini sama sahaja. Tapi pada hydrogen sini, kita akan tambah OH. So, this is actually our carboxylic acid. Okay? So, this is actually for question A and B. Okay, question C, dia kata, suggest another reagent to convert H to M. So, H is our aldehyde, M is actually our carboxylic acid. So, we can also use, besides KMnO4H plus heat, we can also use K2Cr2O7H plus heat, ataupun Na2 pun boleh jugalah. It's either potassium ataupun sodium chromate. It still needs H plus and heat. Okay, next question. Dia tanya, name the type of reaction for the conversion of E to F. E, alcohol, to F, alkene. And state the rule involved. Again, since this reaction is actually from our alcohol to alkene, so for the elimination process, it will follow Say's rule. Ni revision balik chapter alkene kita. Okay, last but not least, dia minta dekat sini, suggest a chemical test to differentiate H. H is actually our, this one. H is actually our propanol. Dia minta propanol and propanol. Okay, state the observation and write the chemical equation. So this one actually ada 2 possibility. Okay, so first one is actually Tolen test. Okay, Tolen test, yang ni yang senang lah kita nak buat. Okay, so this is our propanol. Okay, so again, what we're gonna change is actually from hydrogen tu, kita jadikan O minus sahaja. And this is actually our reagent for Tolen test. And then because when we mentioned about silver mirror form, that is actually our precipitate lah. So silver is actually Ag. And then must show the downward arrow. So the observation is silver mirror form. Whereas for our ketone, there is no observable changes. Okay, so for the identification test of carbonyl ni, memang kita dah banyak belajar banyak kan. Tapi because we want to write down the equation, Tolan test is actually the one where we have the reagent as well as the equation itself. Kalau shift tak dapat. Okay, if you want to use Fairlink ataupun Benedict pun boleh juga sebenarnya. But then I'm just gonna use Tolan test lah. Okay, ataupun sengaja nak uji diri lagi, sebenarnya this test can actually be differentiated using iodoform test. Okay, sebab kat sini Miss nak tekankan iodoform test kita ni jap. Okay, so for iodoform test, for the carbonyl, it must have C double bond O and CH3 attached to it. So again, for our propanol ni, dia ada C double bond O, hydrogen dengan CH3 CH2 sahaja. So for this reaction, there is no observable changes. However, for our propanol, 1, 2, 3 here, because we have C double bond O and CH3, okay, so what happened? Remember, the C double bond O will maintain, tapi from CH3 ni akan jadi O minus. But then again, don't forget to include our yellow precipitate plus CHI3. Okay, downward arrow. Where the observation is yellow precipitate form. Okay. So, cuma yang akhir sikit, kita punya iodoform test, kita dah tengok dua lah. Satu carbonyl, satu alcohol. Okay, so for the carbonyl itself, it's quite straightforward. Where sebenarnya CH3 dia terus jadi O minus. Okay. Yang C double bond O ni maintain. So, this is the difference lah. Tapi for alcohol, COH akan jadi C double bond O. Kalau alcohol dia banyak sikit. COH ni akan jadi C double bond O. CH3 ni akan jadi O minus. Okay, and then sebenarnya kat sini we're gonna remove hydrogen juga. Remove hydrogen from COH tu. So maknanya dekat sini H ni will be removed lah, tidak ada lagi. But then sini contohnya ada metal ke, etal ke, so we're still gonna maintain the carbon itself. Okay, so that's it, the last for the chapter 9 examples.